Hey everybody, happy Tuesday. So, super duper fired up about this interview. A friend of mine, a mentor of mine, someone that I absolutely look up to in every possible way as a person, as a professional, and he is someone that inspires me, and I know he inspires so many people, but I love doing these interviews because I love people to hear the stories of where people are and where they've come from. And you know, the old saying goes, everyone sees the glory, but they don't know the story behind it. So, my good friend, mentor, and amazing human being, Chris Harder, I've invited on here, and I'm going to wait for him to pop on, and there he is. And this is going to be good. So I'm going to wait for him to join, and he's been so gracious to give me 30 minutes of his time, and I'm going to get right into it for you guys because this man is, him and Lori are just absolutely blazing trails and doing some huge, amazing things for people. So hi to everybody that's jumping on. Again, I've left a link to Chris's website for theloveofmoney.com. And his podcast, his masterminds, and we're going to get into all of that once we get him on here. But again, this is someone that influences me every single day, and I so grateful and just appreciative and thankful for him. So let me see if I can get him to pop on really quickly. Give me 1 second. And you know what? This is what I love about technology, is because there are expectations of things that you want to happen. And sometimes they don't go as planned. So you have to roll with the punches. So I'm going to wait for him to pop back on. We'll try this again. Chris, I'm going to add you in right now. So I'm going to add him in again. And guys, you know what you have to understand. There we go.
What's up, brother?
Do you have any headphones?
Not readily available. Is this not going to work?
Let's see. Because it gives you a little feedback when one person has headphones.
I will tell you what. Let me go see if I can scrounge some up. Give me a sec.
Okay. All right, so let me get these back in here. So Chris is going to scrounge some headphones up. So while I have you guys on here, for those that follow Chris, that listen to his podcast, what are some of your burning questions that you have for him? Because obviously I have some questions that I absolutely want to ask him. But what are some questions that you guys have? What are things that you want to know from Chris? Because I have my own set of questions that I absolutely have for him. But you guys have this place and space. You're going to have him for, when he gets back on here, for about 20, 25 minutes. So what are some burning questions that you have for Chris, or what have you been learning from him? Because it's important, we all have, you have to ask to get, and you hear this all the time. And what I can share with you is that, when people ask the right questions, you're obviously going to get the right answers. So for those that are on here live, type in the chat box. All right, perfect. He's back. Good. Here we go. I'm going to add you in now, Chris. And you definitely have to love technology. So again, ask some of your questions as I go through this. Going to add him in. There we go.
Dude, it should not be this difficult to get a Facebook Live to happen. Huh?
Listen, it's technology challenges. But first, dude, thank you so much for taking the time to jump on here with me today. I know how productive your days are, so it really means a lot to me and everybody that's on here.
Of course, man. My pleasure. Check it out. I'm in Lori's office.
Awesome. It's really pretty. Like you have a very
Yeah,
pretty
well,
background.
she stole the podcast studio from me, so I'll be in the feminine background
The
today.
feminine background. That's okay. I mean, listen, we have to have both energy. So
Yeah, you got that right.
a lot of people are jumping on here, and Chris, you're a mentor of mine. You're someone that I so look up to in so many ways. Myself and my fiance, we both do, and we love you and Lori so much. Everyone sees the incredible things that you guys have been doing over the last few years, but I want to just go back for a second before we talk about everything that's going on with you guys right now and everything that you're pushing out. Some of the people don't know your story. They don't know your background in finance and coming from Wisconsin and everything that you did prior to entrepreneurship. So if you can take the next couple minutes and just kind of introduce yourself to people on the before Chris from where he is right now, that would be awesome.
Yeah, for sure. I'll give you a real kind of high level overview. And if there's anywhere you want to do a deep dive on, we can certainly circle back and do that. So
Absolutely.
Wisconsin born and raised. The cool thing about coming from the Midwest is that you're raised with like really good core values, right? Good work ethic, good family values. There's this grit and just this importance placed on the things that really matter in life. Sentimental values, etc. Then, if you can take that type of upbringing and take it to one of the coasts where everything's actually going on, that's the perfect 1-2 punch, right? So you're raised with all the right attributes, and then you get to go apply those attributes where all the action is. And that's kind of basically what we've done. Now, has it been that short and that easy of a route? Absolutely not. It's been full of ups and downs and, like the ultimate roller coaster ride. And it started with, I got booted out of college back in Wisconsin. And I remember my parents thought it was like the end of the world. And I was like, sweet, the world's just starting, because I didn't want to be there. I already knew I wanted to be out participating in the economy. And so I played with a couple of fun little entrepreneurial ventures that were both failed in the moment. I guess I would classify them as failed, but there truly are no failures, right?
Correct.
And got into the car business, and that's really where I learned sales and leadership. And I feel like if you can learn those two things, sales and leadership, you can write your ticket. You really can. If you can master sales and leadership, you write your ticket. So I did that for a while. And then about a year and a half into that, everybody was starting to get into banking and getting in the big mortgage boom. And, because all my friends were in it, I wanted to be in it. And because they were all making money, I wanted to be making money. And so I talked my way into a entry-level loan officer job to sell mortgages that I literally wasn't qualified for. Matter of fact, when I got there, the guy, his name was Todd. He said, hey, I've already picked up my guy, but you were on the schedule. So, let's go ahead and do this anyway. So I'm like, there's a great way to start an interview.
Yeah.
But by the end of that thing, I became his guy. And that's where I started my banking career. Sorry, these things keep falling on my ears. I don't have ears that match earbuds. Anybody else have that problem? Like,
yes.
There's like 18% of the world where these actually don't work for your ears. I happen to be part of that 18%.
I am too.
Drives me nuts. All right. So, so I get this job in lending, and I start working my way up through that mortgage bank. And we just go up and up and up and up. And it was fun, and it was productive, and it was positive, and everything was sales driven and goals driven. And it was literally just one of the most formative, fun times of my life. And that was for about 7-8 years until the recession hit. And then when the recession hit, it just turned off like a faucet. It went from something real positive to something real negative. And everybody that I was surrounded with was just down and out, And so then after spending an entire year of like closing down bank branches and letting people go, it became my turn. And they came to me and they said, hey, you can have a severance package or a demotion of a demotion of a demotion of a demotion, and moved to Jersey, ironically. And, we were in Minneapolis at the time. I said, no. I said, give me the severance because my wife wants me out of here. I want to be out of here. It's time for a fresh start. And the funny thing was this, because we would make so much more money year after year after year when things were good, and because I was young and in my 20s and ignorant and arrogant, we would spend all of that money and then some. Wow. And so when the faucet shut off, we had to sell, get rid of, lose, liquidate everything that we possibly could and start over from scratch. Oof. Now, a lot of people are like, oh, that's such a low, that's such a dip. And yeah, in the moment, it felt like shit. But the cool part is it gives you a chance to reinvent yourself, and it gives you a chance to decide how you want to show up in the world going forward, right? You get to choose again. And that's exactly what it was for us. And it took probably 3 years of mixed opportunities to really get things flowing and going and back on our feet. But that truly was where we discovered self-development. And that truly was where we discovered entrepreneurship in the way that we do it today. And that truly is where we, figured out, matter of fact, that was Lori's wake-up call. My wife, for those that are watching that don't know Lori, that was her wake-up call to say, wait a second, I want to go build a career. And that became the start of Lori, as everybody knows Lori today. So you look back at those moments, you can't take them away, because
Yeah.
all the awesome things end up coming from those moments where you get to choose again. And so that's how we ended up with the multiple companies and things that we have today, as people know today.
I feel it's so important, and everyone's loving this, and I am too, because some of the best entrepreneurs are also some of the greatest storytellers, because again, it's so easy for people to focus on where everybody is right now. Everything that you're doing with the masterminds and your podcast and Lori and Bliss and the book and everything that you guys are rocking and rolling with. But it's so important to share that story, because everyone goes through and grows through something in life, and there's lessons to be learned the entire time. And people talk about all the time that your failures truly open the doors to your successes. You fail, you learn how to succeed. You fail, you learn how to succeed. But you said sales and leadership are probably the two biggest things that you learned that really, in your formative years, like when you were getting started as a professional, and I'm sure Lori can attest to this too. When you guys got into entrepreneurship, and namely, network marketing was one of the almost entry-level entrepreneurship endeavors that you guys had that really started to allow you to believe that everything truly is possible in life. How important was having that sales and leadership skills from when you were, doing the car sales? How important was that to immediately put that into your network marketing business when you guys started 8-9 years ago?
It's a really good question. It's funny because a lot of people ask, well, how'd you grow your team so big so fast? And it was because we already had all the pieces in place from our past experience, and people kind of forget to tap into that. So, going back in the story, the car sales, that taught sales and leadership at the first level. Then to fly up through the ranks in banking and lending, we had extensive sales and extensive leadership training, to the point where they sent me away to UNC Chapel Hill for spans at a time to go learn leadership. And so what happened was I was able to take that, what was it, probably 13 years experience in sales and leadership and attracting the right people and grooming and all those things, and apply it to this very simple business model where you're using a product that you love and building a business by finding teammates that you love and people that you want to lock arms with, and then learning how to find out what motivates them and lead them. So, when people are getting started in, because your question specifically was about network marketing, when they're getting started in network marketing or really any kind of new venture, you got to look back and figure out, what assets do I already have that I can just duplicate or that I can tap into here, instead of feeling like you're starting from scratch.
So important, because they talk about it all the time, that you're truly seeking the mirror image of yourself. You're looking to connect with people that you have a relatable story with, where there's no resistance. You're not dragging people through the mud. But everyone is David C.S. Wood says every master was once a disaster. So if people think that you and Lori came into network marketing, you guys were like figuring it all out right away, I'm sure, just like every person that does something new, there are definitely growing pains. So before we transition into a lot of the things that you're doing now, for the people that are on here that are, obviously new to network marketing, or they've been in it for a couple of years and they're struggling, they have a difficult time finding their passion and their purpose, and their team hasn't shown up yet. They feel like a lone wolf. They see all those people succeeding and surpassing them. What's your simple piece of advice for that person that may be feeling that way right now?
It's a great question. The thing I love about the network marketing industry when I look back on it is I always say it's like the safest way to learn the beginning pieces of entrepreneurship. Think about it. Like, you learn team building, you learn sales, you learn money management as the money starts coming in, you learn scaling, you learn conflict resolution, because that shows up as you build a big team. You get to learn all of these things with next to nothing at risk, right? Your entire risk is whatever product you're consuming each month, and that's your skin in the game to be able to share it and go build a team. So your question around, when people are struggling with any one of those things and they feel stuck and everybody around them is growing and they're not, is to look in the mirror and find out exactly what you should be doing that you're not doing and do more of that. And this is tough. This is why most people get stuck, because they, number one, don't want to look in a mirror and be objective. They want to be subjective. Number two, they want to blame everybody else, not themselves. You like my team, my downline, this person, that person. It's never what role did you have in being stuck. And even when they figure out, okay, they're looking in the mirror, they figure out what the problem is. Why aren't they doing it? They don't take the steps to then rectify that and show up better going forward, right? There's some kind of block. And so you're only going to grow and get past those blocks to the extent in which you work on yourself. Everybody thinks they have to work harder and harder and harder on their business. That's 50% of the equation. The other 50% that has to go hand in hand is how hard you're working on yourself. Are you changing your belief levels? Are you changing your patterns, your habits, your rituals? What are you doing to show up as a person who's going to attract more successful people in life? Because you said it earlier, you said you're going to attract more of kind of how you're showing up. Well, when you're showing up as a C plus and you're saying, where's all my A plus players? You're not going to attract any A plus players because you're showing up as a fucking C plus. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it is what it is. You need to do the work to become that A plus to attract other A plus players.
It's so true because, one, what you focus on is what you become. And I love that. But I think the most difficult thing for me at a certain point was exactly what you said, which is turning the mirror around and looking at yourself in the mirror and saying, you know what, it's on me. I'm not going to do the finger pointing anymore. I'm not going to play the blame game or the, oh, what was me game, which is so easy for people to do because, entrepreneurship, network marketing, it can be a very lonely island sometimes. You find yourself by yourself. You have a team all over the country, so you're forced to really look within yourself, to really peel back the layers of why am I doing what I'm doing and how can I just stop this story, quit the negative self-talk and move forward. And I think you beautifully stated and covered that because we're either our greatest asset or our greatest liability. And everyone has the choice to either be the asset or the liability for their team.
Mm-hmm. It's so true. It's so true, man. I love that.
So, obviously what I love most about both of you is that you guys are never complacent, whether it's going back to your 30 books in 30 days or Lori learning how to play the guitar or, whatever it is, never missing your evening walk with waffles. You guys are always committing yourselves to doing things to make you grow. And that's what I want to focus on now. Obviously, Lori's had Bliss for 6 or 7 years now. You've had the For the Love of Money podcast for going on 3 years, but now you have the For the Love of Money Mastermind, which for people that don't know about it, it is the single greatest investment that I've ever made in myself. In my 6 years of this stage of my entrepreneurial game. And I can't begin to thank you enough for what you have curated and what you're doing with this mastermind. But also what people don't know is that you have the Fast Foundations mastermind as well that one of my dear friends, Regina Lawrence is part of, and she reached out to me and I said, definitely do it, get in there ASAP. So talk about where all of this came from. Obviously you guys have the growth mindset. You're doing all these amazing things. You have this great network marketing team. And then you have the podcast. You have these masterminds. How did they come about? And what sole purpose do you have of these to really do for those people around you?
Really great question. So we'd have to back up to really figure out where they came from. We have the network marketing team that you talked about building. Then we built the fitness empire for Lori. Then we cranked out a best-selling book. Then we started investing and sitting on boards of other startups, that are very successful. I know I'm missing things in there. The 2 podcasts, just the event, the annual event, all those things. And everybody would say, how'd you do it? Would you show me how? And of course, show me how is such a larger answer than, oh, well, here's the 5 steps to doing an event. Here's the 10 steps of launching a podcast. Like the show me how is deep, and you need to spend a lot of time with somebody to show them how. So, you said we're always investing in ourselves. we had been in masterminds for, God, probably the past 5 years. And to me, they were the number one single greatest thing that would cause rapid growth in us every single time.
Yeah.
And we had been in ones that quite honestly sucked. And then we had been in ones that were absolutely and utterly awesome. One of them teaches you, here's how I would never do it. And the other one teaches you, here's exactly how I would want to do it. And then you decide that, you know what, I want to put out my own version based on here's how I would do it, but I would do it differently. And that becomes the answer to everybody asking, how do you do fill in the blank? And so when you can spend an entire year with somebody in a very intimate setting, 40 people rolling up their sleeves, lifting the veil, here's
Yeah.
all of the mechanisms behind the machine, and here's how you can apply them too, that becomes the very high touch, very successful answer to how do I do blank. Because when everybody asks that question and they think it's going to be a couple of quick Instagram messages back and forth and they're going to learn, or they think it's going to be a quick phone call and they're going to learn, we all know that's not true. We all know that that might spark a change in them, one little change that can lead to some better results. But if you really want to know how to do things correctly, you need to spend some significant time with people in order to show them how to do things on a significant level. So that's where the two masterminds came from. One's more entry level and one is, the one that you're in, far more elite. And it was really just to satisfy all of those people asking, how do I do blank?
So would you say that you learned more from the ones that sucked or the ones that were good?
Man, good question. Equal parts. Equal parts. There's so much that you can learn when you say, I never want to show up that way, or I never want to do what that person is doing or teach the way that person is teaching, etc. Because it's a good reminder for you to stay in your lane. It's a good reminder for you on how you want to show up. Or, quite honestly, a lot of the things you might try without having that experience and realize, after trial and error that you're failing at doing it. So I'd rather learn by watching somebody else saying, oh, nope, I don't want to come across that way. And then the other half of the hand is people need to be able to demonstrate to you what things should look like and what things should feel like in a successful way for you to actually know how to execute them. So you can't not learn from the successful example either, because duplication is the fastest way to being successful. So honestly, there's not one that taught me more than the other. I think you have to have both experiences and then, kind of customize it and make it your style.
Yeah. And I love how you say we, and I want people to understand that we have a best-selling book. We have 2 podcasts. We have the Bliss Project. You and Lori are one, and I think that's what I love about you guys so much. And Nancy and I always talk about that you need to emulate yourself after people. And I think what the one thing that people don't emulate, you need to look to certain couples to emulate yourselves after them. And Nancy and I absolutely look up to 2 of you, not only as individuals, but as a loving husband and wife that truly do support each other. And we were listening to one of your recent episodes that you did with her, where, you were talking about how to let your spouse know how serious you are, because spousal support in any entrepreneurial endeavor, whether it's entrepreneurship, whether it's network marketing, is so important. So talk about that really quickly. And you talked about the seasons where sometimes you go through something and then Lori's there to pick you up and vice versa. How important is it to have that spousal support in entrepreneurship when maybe one person is doing it, the other person is not?
Number one, the easy answer is, well, of course, it's the utmost importance. But the more important answer is support comes from learning how to communicate with each other. There's often times where your significant other wants to support you, or they may think they're supporting you, but they're not supporting you in the way that you want to be supported or need to be supported. But if you don't communicate that, and if you guys can't have open dialogue around that, then you're just going to take it as he does not support me or she does not support me. When their intent is there to support you and the effort is there to support you, but quite honestly, it might just be, displayed in the wrong way or the wrong direction or in a way that they can't receive it. One of the best lessons that Lori ever taught me was this: when it's not whether my message is correct or incorrect. It's always if it can land on her or not, if it's presented in a way that she can receive it. And when we worked that out, when I first came home from banking and said, "Hey, babe, we're going to lock arms and we're going to blow up your brand, and we're going to also build this network marketing company. We're going to do all these things." Man, that first 6 months was hell. It was total hell because my communication style was super direct and super, fastest route to the point possible. And whether what I was saying was correct or incorrect was irrelevant because it couldn't land on her. She wouldn't receive it that way.
Yeah.
So we had to actually sit down and literally role play. All right, Lori, when I need to bring up sales, how would you like me to say it? And when would you like me to bring it up? And when I need to bring up marketing or the budget or this or that, things that were triggers for her or things that I was bringing up in the wrong way, how do you want me to bring it up? And when should I bring it up? And how do you want me to say it? We would literally role play that so that I knew how to say these things in a way that they could actually land on her and that she could receive them. And so, I think too often people start to build this story of my significant other isn't supporting me. And in some cases, I'm sure that that's the case.
Yeah.
But more often than not, it's not that they're not supporting you. It's that you guys have not had the conversation around what that support should actually look like and feel like and sound like.
Yeah, the communication is everything. And one of the best books that I ever read was the Five Love Languages, because what I learned in that book is that, we tend to communicate or treat or do things with our partner the way that we would best receive. So instead of we speak to them in our language, instead of figuring out what is their language, how can I communicate to them in a way where they're receiving me and I'm being received by them. So I think that's just beautifully stated. So I do want to respect your time. So with the Fast Foundations and For the Love of Money Mastermind, just quickly talk about the type of people that you've attracted into that, and obviously as people are on here live or on the replay, who is someone that is the right fit for this, and how can they find out more about your guys' masterminds?
Man, I appreciate you asking that. So pretty simple. Fast Foundations is the entry level one for people $0 to $300,000. Of course, they're both aimed at entrepreneurs. And it's our goal to have as much diversity in business type in each of those as possible. So there's all kinds of business. It's not just influencers. It's not just podcasters. It's not just people with e-courses. It's people with physical product goods. It's people with brick and mortar stores. It's people with gyms. It's people with CBD companies, like you name it. It's very, very diverse. And then the For the Love of Money Mastermind is the more elite one. And that's for people that are 300,000 to 3 million and above in terms of annual revenue. Really, that group seems to run about 500,000 to 4 million. And it's same structure, different principles that we're teaching. Here's what's fascinating. When we do the panel, where we sit up there for a couple hours and you guys get to ask Lori and I and our team any questions that you want, the questions from the more entry level one, the Fast Foundations, are so radically different than the questions that are asked of us in the more elite one. And of course, that's what you would expect. And that's why we've separated them like that, is because somebody who is trying to figure out how to make their first $250,000 has very different questions from somebody who's trying to figure out how to go from 1 million to 4 million.
Yeah.
Right. Super. Like the questions are more based around who would my first hire be and when do I hire them, versus I have a team of 4, but I feel like I'm not being a good leader. How do you lead your team? Two radically different types of questions. And if you lump everybody into the same room, unfortunately, one person's going to get what they're looking for and the other person's going to be bored out of their mind. So that's why we've separated them that way. And it's probably one of the most fun things that we possibly do.
Yeah, first class. That weekend, and I've been connecting with so many people from the mastermind, and you become a family, and you've done such a great job of doing that. And I keep telling them I can't wait for May, because the energy that's going to be in that room is going to be off the charts, because the way that I've been describing it to people is that when you get there for the first part of the mastermind, when we were there in February, it's like the first day of freshman orientation in high school. You know a couple people in the room that you went to another school with, and they filter everyone into the same high school, and then you feel each other out, you make some connections, and then obviously as the year goes on, you become better and better friends. So the energy of where this mastermind is going to go in May and beyond, Chris, it's going to be off the charts, and I am so beyond excited for it.
Dude, you have no idea what we have planned for May. Like, I'm glad you're excited because it's going to blow your mind. It really is.
I can't wait. All right, so I have one final question, but before that, how can people find out more about you and where they can find out about the 2 different masterminds that you guys have created?
You know, it's ironic that we're on Facebook because I'm only hanging out on Instagram these days for the most part. So I made a commitment to answer all my DMs for people's business questions on Instagram. So you can find me at Chris W. Harder on Instagram if you want to get hold of me. And the podcast is fortheloveofmoney.com. And underneath that umbrella, you can also find information on the 2 different masterminds there.
Awesome. Final question before I let you go. Chris, simple question, no wrong answer. What does success mean to you?
Good question. Apparently it means I need to cough. This definition has changed a lot. I'm 41 years old and has changed a lot throughout the years. Right now, it means to me choice and experience. If you get to do what you choose to do every single day, and if you get to have all of the experiences that you want to have. So for me right now, it's building as many experiences as I can with my family. That to me is success. So what do you need to be able to provide choice and to be able to provide experience? Well, you need money, and you need the right habits, and you need the right outlook, and you need all these other things that people will sometimes confuse as success. I know I certainly have confused those as success in the past, and it's always going to be a different answer and different definition for each person. That's what's beautiful. That's what makes the world go round.
Yeah.
But for me, it's if you can make any choice you want day in and day out, and then if you can create all the experiences that you want to create, I think that's the definition for me right now.
Awesome. Well, listen, brother, much love and gratitude to you for taking time out of your day. I know so many people got so much value from just this 30-minute interview, but more so, I can't thank you enough again for everything that I'm learning from you, being a part of your mastermind, and just the way that you show up each and every day. You and Lori are just 2 incredible human beings that I know anyone that just follows you guys, that hasn't had the opportunity to get to know you. We are all truly blessed to have you guys both in some aspect of our lives. So thank you for everything that you do.
Man, I feel the exact same way about you. It's been really fun. I've obviously known you from the past, but this is the year I've gotten to know you the best. And what a gift you are to everybody. So keep doing the do.
Thanks, Chris. Have a great rest of your afternoon. We'll talk soon, brother.
Take care, guys.
Bye, buddy. So as you can see, success truly does mean something different to each person. And and why I wanted to bring Chris on here, I mean, number one, he's an incredible human being. Him and Lori are just doing ridiculous things. But he's definitely an influence of mine. He's someone that I highly, highly respect and look up to as a mentor and as a human being. But, people maybe didn't know that he was from Wisconsin, or he got kicked out of college, or he was in car sales, or he had an entry-level job in mortgage sales. But you don't know, you don't know the story unless you ask. So guys, I hope this found you in some way where it's leaving you better. And again, www.fortheloveofmoney.com for his podcast, his Fast Foundations Mastermind, his Elite Mastermind, For the Love of Money Mastermind. Chris and Lori are doing some of the most incredible things out there. Success leaves clues. Follow those that are in alignment with what you're doing, and the rest will fall into place. Love you all so much. Have a great day, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye, everybody.